Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going to look past, the shiny plastic and the reward points of credit cards.
Mm.
We really want to get under the hood and understand how they actually work,
Right. The idea is to give you the tools, the knowledge, really, to use them well.
so you can take control of your finances and
Yeah.
hopefully steer clear some common traps.
Exactly. Because, let's be honest, they can seem pretty confusing, maybe even a bit intimidating for lots of folks.
Yeah, definitely.
So this deep dive, we're aiming to demystify them, make it clear, simple, almost like a credit cards for dummies approach, but, respectfully.
Ha, yeah, exactly. So our mission today, give you a full but easy to understand guide, how they work, the good stuff, the bad stuff.
And the goal is you walk away feeling informed, feeling confident, and definitely not overwhelmed by all the jargon.
Right, let's do it.
So where do we start? What actually is a credit card, fundamentally?
Okay, good question. Think of it like this. It's basically a tiny loan machine you carry around.
A loan machine. I like that.
Yeah. When you swipe it, you're not spending your money right that second. You're borrowing the bank's money.
That's the key difference from a debit card, right? Debit comes straight from your account.
Exactly. Credit is, well, it's credit. The bank pays up front for you.
And this is but there's an agreement tied to that.
Oh, yeah. You're essentially saying, I'll pay you back soon.
Mm-hmm. It's borrowed cash, not a freebie. You owe that money back, usually every month.
Okay, so that's the basics. But how do they actually help you? What are the upsides?
Well, one of the biggest ones, especially long-term, is building your credit history.
Ah, right. This is super important.
It really is. Every time you use that card and crucially pay your bill on time,
The banks are kind of keeping score.
pretty much they're noting down, okay, this person borrows money and pays it back reliably. It builds a track record.
Like a financial reputation?
Exactly. And that track record becomes your credit score. A good score. That opens doors later.
Like for big things, right?
Mm.
Car loans, maybe getting a mortgage for a house.
Mortgages, apartment rentals sometimes. Yeah, it really matters. A good score makes borrowing cheaper and easier down the line.
Okay, what else? People talk about rewards a lot. Points, cash back.
Yep. The goodies, as some call them. It's like a little bonus for spending money you were probably going to spend anyway.
So if I spend, say, $100 on groceries with my card.
You might get maybe $1, $2 back as cash back, depending on the card, or points towards flights or gift cards.
It might seem small, but it adds up.
It can, yeah. Some studies even show those little rewards kind of nudge us to use the card more. It feels like getting something for nothing.
Interesting. Okay, another thing, fraud protection. Is that a big deal?
Oh, definitely. This is a major plus. If someone steals your card number and goes on a shopping spree, buys a fancy PS5 or something,
Uh-oh.
generally, you're not on the hook for that money. The credit card company usually covers fraudulent charges.
So they investigate and you don't lose your cash.
That's the idea. They have processes for that. It's a layer of security you don't always get with, say, cash or sometimes even debit cards.
That's reassuring. And what about emergencies?
Right, that's another key benefit. Imagine your car suddenly breaks down, or you have an unexpected hospital bill.
Things you didn't budget for.
Exactly. If you don't have the cash immediately on hand, a credit card can be a lifesaver, a temporary float to cover that cost.
So it buys you time to figure out the payment.
Precisely. It acts as a short-term safety net.
Okay, so those are some pretty solid benefits. But there's always a flip side, isn't there? How can credit cards hurt you?
Oh, absolutely. If you're not careful, they can cause some real financial headaches. The biggest danger is probably the high interest rates.
Right. This is where things get tricky if you don't pay the entire balance off each month.
You get hit with interest charges. That's extra money you owe, just for the privilege of borrowing.
And these interest rates aren't small, are they?
No way. We're often talking annual percentage rates, APRs, of like 20%, sometimes even close to 30%.
Wow. Compared to, say, a mortgage rate, that's huge.
It's incredibly high. And that's how the cost of whatever you bought can balloon over time if you only pay bits off.
Which leads to the next problem, right? The potential debt spiral.
Exactly. It's easy to see how it happens. You miss a full payment, maybe just pay the minimum.
Okay.
So next month, your balance is higher because of that interest tacked on. Now it's even harder to pay off.
And if you miss again.
It snowballs.
Hmm.
The debt grows faster and faster. It can get really stressful really quickly. You might even start getting calls from debt collectors.
Yeah, that sounds awful. And there are fees too, right, if you mess up.
Yep. Late fees are common. Miss your payment due date by even a day.
Ouch.
And you could get slapped with a fee, often around, $25 to $40?
Just for being late. An extra hit.
an extra hit, and sometimes other penalty fees too, depending on the card agreement.
And all this impacts that credit score we talked about earlier.
Massively. Late payments, high balances, unpaid debts, they all drag your credit score down.
Which makes it harder to get those loans later on.
Harder and more expensive because you'll likely get worse interest rates. It can even, in some cases, affect your chances of getting certain jobs or renting an apartment. It has real-world consequences.
Okay, so it's crucial to know the lingo then. Let's break down some key terms, maybe in that dummy style we mentioned. First up, credit limit.
Simple enough. That's just the maximum amount of money the bank will let you borrow on that specific card. Your spending cap, basically.
Got it. Next, minimum payment.
Okay, this is the smallest amount you have to pay each month to avoid being marked as late or defaulting.
But just paying this isn't a great idea, is it?
Generally, no. It keeps the account current, but most of that tiny payment goes towards interest, not the actual money you borrowed.
So you barely make a dent in the debt.
Exactly. It can take years and cost a fortune in interest to pay off a balance if you only ever pay the minimum. Big trap to avoid.
Right. Okay, interest rate or APR, we touched on this?
Yeah, that's the percentage they charge you for carrying a balance for not paying it all off by the due date. The cost of borrowing expressed annually.
And watch out, because it's usually high.
Very high on credit cards. Okay, next term.
Statement due date. Sounds important.
Critical. This is the deadline. Your payment needs to arrive by this date to avoid late fees and potentially triggering interest on new purchases too, depending on grace periods. Mark it on your calendar.
Good advice. And lastly, balance.
That's just the total amount you owe on the card right now. Simple as that.
Okay, armed with those terms, how do we use these cards without, getting wrecked? What are the golden rules?
Rule number 1, the absolute platinum diamond rule. Pay. The full. Balance. Every single month.
No exception.
If you can possibly manage it, no exceptions, do that and you pay zero interest, zero. Plus you get all the benefits like rewards.
It's like using the bank's money for free for a short time and getting perks.
Precisely. That's the ideal way to use it, which leads to rule 2.
Don't spend money you don't actually have.
You got it. Treat your credit limit not as extra money, but as a reflection of money you do have in your bank account, ready to pay the bill. Only charge what you can afford to pay off completely.
Makes sense. What else?
Consider setting up automatic payments, maybe for the minimum amount, just as a backup.
So you never accidentally miss the due date.
Right. It's a safety net against forgetfulness.
Right.
But ideally, you manually pay the full balance before the due date or set up auto pay for the full statement balance.
Okay. And checking your statements.
Yes. Regularly, like at least once a month, maybe more often online. Look for errors, weird fees, or any charges you don't recognize that fraud thing again.
Catch problems early.
Much easier to fix early. And one more guideline related to that credit score.
Ah, the 30% rule.
Yeah, the credit utilization rule. Try to keep your balance below 30% of your total credit limit.
So if my limit is $1,000.
Try to keep your balance under $300, even if you pay it off in full each month. Lenders like to see that you're not maxing out your cards. It makes you look less risky.
Okay, that's a good practical tip. Let's make this even clearer with an example. Say, $1,000 credit limit, and I spent $300 this month.
Okay. Scenario 1, the good path.
Right. I get my bill, and I pay the full $300 before the due date.
Right.
What happens?
Simple. You pay zero interest, zip, nada.
Nice.
Your credit history gets a little positive tick, and if your card has rewards, you earned them on that $300. Win-win-win.
All right. Scenario 2, the not-so-good path. I get the bill for $300, but I only pay the minimum payment. Let's say it's $30.
Okay, now what happens? Well, first, you don't get the main benefit avoiding interest, that remaining $270. It starts accruing interest immediately.
How much interest, roughly?
On a typical card, say 25% APR, that $270 could rack up maybe $5 or so in interest just in that first month.
So next month's bill is already bigger.
Yep. Your balance is now $275 plus any new spending. And you probably didn't get rewards or maybe forfeited them, depending on the card. Plus, if you keep doing this, the debt grows and it hurts your credit utilization ratio.
So path 1, no extra cost, good credit, free rewards. Path 2, extra cost, growing debt, maybe no rewards,
Right.
and potential credit damage.
You summed it up perfectly. Path 2 is, let's just say, only leads to sadness and crying, financially speaking.
Okay, message received. So why are banks so eager to give these things out then if path 2 is so bad for us?
Well, think about it from their perspective. Where do they make a lot of their money on credit cards?
From the interest,
Yeah.
when people don't pay the full balance.
Exactly. That interest, the 20-30% we talked about, is hugely profitable for them. Merchant fees are another part, but interest income from carried balances is significant.
So the fact that it's pretty easy to get a credit card sometimes, it's partly because they kind of hope or at least know that some people will mess up.
That's a cynical way to put it, but yeah, their business model relies on a certain percentage of users carrying balances and paying that high interest. They profit when people slip up.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean you have to be one of them. The trick is to be smarter than the average user.
How so?
Use their system to your advantage. Use their money for the month, pay it back on time, collect the rewards, enjoy the fraud protection.
And never pay them a dime in interest.
That's the goal. Beat them at their own game by being disciplined.
Right. Okay, let's do a quick cheat sheet then. Good habits versus bad habits. What's on the good list?
Good habits. Pay your full balance every month. Number 1.
Spend only what you can afford money you actually have.
Use them for big, safe purchases where that fraud protection is valuable.
Keep an eye on those due dates. Set reminders or auto pay.
Treat credit like real money you have to pay back, 'cause it is.
Okay. Now the bad habits list. Things to avoid.
Paying just the minimum payment. Big red flag.
Spending money you don't have just because you have the credit limit available.
Swiping it randomly for small stuff, junk you don't need without thinking.
Forgetting about the bill until it's too late. Ouch.
And yeah, thinking of your credit limit as bonus cash or free money, it's absolutely not.
Got it. That's a pretty clear distinction. You know, we found a really good analogy in our research.
Oh yeah. What was it?
Credit cards are like fire. They can cook your dinner or burn down your house.
Ooh, that's good. That really captures the duality, doesn't it? Powerful tool, but potentially dangerous.
Exactly. So the final piece of advice that comes from that is pretty simple.
Use them wisely. Handle with care.
Absolutely. So wrapping things up, the big takeaway here is that credit cards aren't inherently good or bad.
Right. They can be incredibly powerful, useful financial tools if you understand how they work and use them responsibly.
It's all about knowledge and discipline.
So maybe take a second now. Think about your own credit card habits. After hearing all this, are there maybe 1 or 2 things you could tweak to manage them even better?
Yeah, good exercise. And here's something else to chew on as we finish. Think about how getting this deeper understanding of a tool like a credit card, understanding the mechanics behind it, might give you more control in other parts of your financial life too.
That's interesting. Like, what other financial machines are out there that maybe we don't fully understand?
Exactly. Are you overlooking another kind of loan machine or financial agreement where knowing the rules of the game could really benefit you? Something to think about.